Good morning, everybody. We're going to let the attendees get into the room really quickly, and then we will kick off the press conference. Thank you all for your patience this morning. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. Today, we will be talking about the Clean Slate series. We are joined by Congresswomen Alma Adams, Haley Stevens, Deborah Ross, and Nikema Williams, who will be speaking in that order, and then we'll take some quick questions. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Congresswoman Alma Adams from North Carolina's 12th Congressional District. Congresswoman, you're on mute.
Good to go.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And thank you to my colleagues, Nikema Williams, Deborah Ross, Haley Stevens, for bringing us together today and for co-leading with me on 3 transformative bills to address the student debt crisis. I am Congresswoman Alma Adams, and as a proud Aggie twice from North Carolina A&T State University and a proud Buckeye with a doctorate from The Ohio State University, and as a caring professor who taught Bennett Bells at Bennett College for 40 years. Higher education from our institutions to the students they serve will always be a priority for me. But unfortunately, there are significant forces in our country all the way up to the Supreme Court that aren't prioritizing the futures of our students and graduates. Student debt is crippling generations of Americans. Countless predatory practices have taken one of the most transformative human experiences, going to college, getting an education, and made it a burden. And so I've said it before, and I'll say it again, the debt is just too damn high. Between their ruling against student loan forgiveness and their decision to change college admissions for the worse, the Supreme Court is helping to turn college and universities into another barrier that keeps families out of the middle class. And that's one of many reasons relief for our students can't wait, and why I'm proud to stand with my colleagues to talk about our 3 bills, the Clean Slate series for student debt relief. These 3 bills, the Student Loan Rehabilitation and Credit Score Improvement Act, the Clean Slate Through Repayment Act, and the Clean Slate Through Consolidation Act. These pieces of legislation help remove defaults from the credit reports of borrowers and improve their credit scores. Any Gen Xer, millennial, or recent college graduate knows how important that credit score can be when it comes to buying a car or opening a small business or obtaining a loan or line of credit or applying for a mortgage. Imagine not being able to rent an apartment because of your student loans. Our solution provides a true second chance and an opportunity to ease the burden of student loan debt for generations of Americans. I am proud to lead the Clean Slate series for student debt relief and with these talented Congresswomen, and it is my honor now to turn the microphone over to my friend, the gentlelady from Michigan, Congresswoman Haley Stevens. Haley?
Well, thank you, Congresswoman Adams. It is always a delight to stand with you and certainly our colleagues, the mighty 4 of us who are introducing an incredible package of bills today. And thank you all for being tireless advocates for federal student loan borrowers. Far too many Americans are frankly burdened with student loan debt. We recognize the impacts of what was achieving the American dream on our economy. And the sum of this debt for borrowers is often insurmountable, and it's keeping Americans from making purchases, other purchases, from buying cars to homes. Folks we know are delaying getting married and having children. And frankly, this is just keeping Americans from participating in our economy and achieving other milestones that mark the American dream. We know that over 40 million Americans currently hold federal student loans, and a significant percentage of those borrowers are in default, meaning they have not been able to make payments for at least 270 days. Consequences for default can be severe, including wage garnishment, withholding Social Security benefits, and damaging a borrower's credit score. And so this is why all of us here today are introducing the Clean Slate through Consolidation set of bills, my bill, the Clean Slate through Consolidation Act. And it's a bill to remove default records from the credit history of federal student loan borrowers who have consolidated their defaulted loan. So they've been taking the steps to address payment. And Americans who pursue an education and make a good faith effort to pay off their loans deserve a fair chance to reestablish their credit and participate in our economy. This legislation is empowering borrowers to get back on the right track and escape the lasting shadow of student loan debt once and for all. And as I know my colleagues feel, this legislation has never been more important. With the recent Supreme Court decision and restarting of student loan payments beginning in the fall, this issue is just at an inflection point. The Department of Education announced a temporary one-time program for defaulted borrowers. The Fresh Start program automatically restores access to federal aid, returns defaulted loans to in repayment status, and removes the record of default from borrowers' credit reports. So I urge all borrowers who are facing default to please visit studentaid.gov for more information about this program. However, this is just a one-time program, and countless borrowers are expected to face default in coming years, making the need for our legislation even more pressing. This package of Clean Slate bills has received overwhelming support from groups ranging from the Center for Responsible Lending to the National Association for Student Financial Aid Administrators to the American Federation of Teachers. These endorsements demonstrate the strength that these bills will have when they are implemented and the urgency of passing them. Let's stand up for students and give a leg up for those who are trying to do the right thing by helping them get back on track and take control of their financial futures. And with that, I am so proud to pass this off to another member from the Tar Heel State, my friend and colleague, Congresswoman Deb Ross.
Well, thank you so much, Haley, and thank you for your leadership. Good morning, and thank you to everyone for joining us. I want to echo what my esteemed colleagues have said. It is a privilege to work with these incredible Congresswomen, including the Dean of my delegation, Congresswoman Alma Adams, who also chairs the Congressional HBCU Caucus, which is a bipartisan caucus. As my colleagues before me have outlined, nearly 50 million Americans are burdened by student loan debt. While we were able to provide essential relief during the COVID pandemic, it simply was not enough. And the harsh reality is that many lower income borrowers will once again struggle to make their payments. Here is the bottom line. Students should not be punished simply for seeking an education. That's why I'm proud to join Congresswoman Adams, Haley Stevens, Nikema Williams to support the Americans of all ages as they work to achieve their educational goals. Today, we are reintroducing our Clean Slate bills, which will remove some of the greatest barriers students face in their pursuit of the American dream. For generations, having a college degree was a ticket to a successful life. But now that same degree, specifically the debt that comes with it, is preventing millions of Americans from achieving the American dream. in my home state of North Carolina. We're known for our incredible schools, both public and private, from NC State to HBCUs like Shaw and St. Augustine's. People travel from all over the world to attend them, but the costs and burdens many of these students face are exceptionally high. Students should not have to choose between a good education and a solid financial future. Now, as we approach the deadline for borrowers to restart their payments, it's more important than ever that Congress supports student borrowers. Our clean slate bills will help borrowers who have been crippled by student debt and the adverse credit history that may come with it. We want to ensure these Americans can reach all their goals, whether it's buying a home, owning a car, starting a business, paying for a wedding, or saving for the future. Our Student Loan Rehabilitation and Credit Score Improvement Act will help us give borrowers a second chance by removing adverse credit histories once they complete their loan rehabilitation. In addition, the Clean Slate Through Repayment Act will ensure that Americans who repay their loans do not feel negative impacts of student debt for years to come. And finally, our Clean Slate Through Consolidation Act will give borrowers who consolidate their defaulted loans a chance to reestablish their credit and get back on track. It's time to help the nearly 50 million Americans held back by student loan debt. And it's time to pass these common sense bills. Now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, the fantastic Nikema Williams from the state of Georgia.
Thank you to all of the Congresswomen here today, and good morning to everyone joining us. Y'all, I am Congresswoman Nikema Williams, and I proudly serve the people of Georgia's fighting 5th Congressional District. Thank you to everyone who is here, especially the people who are here focused on bringing relief to the 44.7 million Americans burdened by student debt. We're here in what is a terrifying time for those borrowers who, unfortunately, Congresswoman Adams stated her HBCU credentials, and I'm a 3rd-generation HBCU grad. And what we know is that more Black women are burdened by student loan debt than any other demographic in this country. What we heard recently from the Supreme Court is that this broken system of student loans will return where it previously was, where one person defaulted on their student loans every 26 seconds. And y'all, this is unacceptable. Because of the out-of-touch Supreme Court, federal student loans will resume accruing interest on September 1st, and payments will resume in October. This devastating ruling was a slap in the face to millions of families across the country, not just students, but including families who put their names on the lines to help their children go to college. And I know just how devastating this is because y'all, I've struggled to repay my student loans well after graduating, but I have my public service loan forgiveness letter only dated this year, April 26, where my loans were forgiven from being a public school teacher and working at a nonprofit for over 10 years. And that's as a member of Congress, where I still was burdened with student loan debt. But y'all, it doesn't have to be this way. Today, I'm joined by 3 bold and fearless Congresswomen to reintroduce the Clean Slate legislative series. We're here because student loan debt repayments jeopardize our constituents' well-being. I represent the city of Atlanta, where we have the largest racial wealth gap in the country. And we know that home ownership helps to close that. But then I hear from people like my constituent, Camila, who told me that after she was fired without cause, she agreed to a payment plan with her student loan servicer. But due to paperwork, a blunder in her paperwork on the servicer's end, her loan was reported as delinquent, and that was reflected on her credit score. Y'all, Camila had to sell her home to pay her bills because she couldn't refinance due to her credit score. Camila is now doing better financially, but she told me that our legislation would have gone a long way to ending what she called a nightmare. Again, it shouldn't be this way, and it doesn't have to be this way. This failed status quo doesn't benefit people, it doesn't help the economy, and it doesn't help the communities that we serve. Resuming student loan payments right now will only help loan servicers. The 3-year lifeline that people have enjoyed because of President Biden's actions on student loans has helped us push us towards an economy that works for the people. But thanks to the Supreme Court, that is all about to end. And I refuse to sit idly by and watch financial catastrophe for this many million borrowers in our country. The 3 bills in the Clean Slate legislative series will help borrowers truly get a second chance after doing the hard work to get their finances in order from crippling student loan debt. And I know exactly how hard this can be because I've been there after falling behind on my own student loan payments. And again, I know that this is not the solution to everything because some borrowers will still be burdened with student loan debt and the price of higher education continues to rise. But I'm about finding solutions to bring student loan debt relief now. Generations of people in America have grown up knowing the need for a college education. And sadly, student loan debt has made the promise of America unattainable for far too many. But the entire Clean Slate series will help bring the promise of America within reach of everyone, no matter their zip code, no matter their bank account. I'm happy now to join my colleagues and answer any questions that you might have.
All right, if you are a reporter from an accredited media institution and have a question, please raise your hand and we'll promote you to a panelist. Again, if you have a question for the members, please raise your hand, use the raise hand function, should be right below your video. All right, we have Ruben Jones from Spectrum. Ruben, let me let you into the room.
Hi, Congresswoman. It's good to see you, Ruben Jones from Spectrum News. Just wondering, this is a reintroduction of this legislation, wondering what type of Republican response you've received on this and what you think of President Biden's steps following the Supreme Court's decision to strike down the student loan repayment plan from the White House. Thank you.
Does anyone want to address that?
I'll speak very briefly. I am not on the committees of jurisdiction for these bills, but the bottom line is this: we have got to be bold and we have got to take this issue on directly and convince our Republican colleagues that this is important, not just for individual borrowers, but for the health of our economy. I have talked to the home builders, the apartment association, all different commercial and financial interests, including the banks. They want this problem solved, and our bills go directly to this: the ability to buy a home, the ability to buy a car, the ability to do all the things that contribute to our economy. So this issue is for young people like Nakima's constituent and so many in my district, because I have so many colleges and universities, but it is also the key to economic prosperity. And as for the president's initiatives, I am just so glad that he's not giving up.
Yeah, let me just add to Congresswoman Ross. We're reintroducing it because it's still a problem. And as a matter of fact, it's getting worse. And when you spend time, you go to school, you come out, you think you're going to have a better way of life, because that's why you go in the first place. And then you come out and you have to live at home with your parents still, live in the basement, whatever. You can't have your own place. You can't pay for an automobile. You can't do anything actually because you are really bogged down with this debt. I appreciate President Biden, at least as Congresswoman Ross has said, not giving up, but understanding that this is a serious problem, and even if in a temporary way, trying to put forth what he can do administratively to make things a little bit better. But we do have to really encourage our Republican colleagues. Education is not a partisan issue. This debt issue is not a partisan issue. All of the folks who have had an opportunity to go to get an education are not Democrats. So it is not a partisan issue. It is one that will impact not only families but our economy. And I think if we're trying to build a stronger economy, we need to have these individuals be able to participate because they want to. This is the reason that you go to get an education in the first place. So we're going to keep pushing this, and we're going to give some of the folks in these districts, in these individuals' districts, Democrat districts and Republican districts, to impress upon members of Congress that we really need to do something to try to make this right.
All right, if Rep. Stevens or Representative Williams, if neither of you want to handle that, I think we've got no more questions in the hopper, so I'm happy to give everybody the next 5 minutes back. Please remember that we are going to send out the video recording of this as soon as we can get it processed. So thank you to everybody who was on today, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Everybody have
Team.
a great day. All right.